most fascinating buildings in Old Goa, that is the World Heritage Site. Now, World Heritage Site is not just one building, but a conglomerate of 7 different buildings in the place called as Old Goa. But the most fascinating of the buildings over there, or edifices rather, to say it correctly, it is ecclesiastical edifices, is the brown colored building that is there, which we know as Bom Jesus Basilica. Now this Bom Jesus Basilica, the foundation was put in 1594, and somewhere in January 1606, that is 11 years later, this building was inaugurated. But at that time, it was not a basilica. It was just a church. It was of the Society of Jesus or the Jesuits. It was made into a basilica as late as 1946. But what is it that made the person to remove the lime coat that was there? And just for your information, there was a lime coat for this particular building. It was a full white building, and it was built in a place which very rarely people will know, at a place called as Praça da Galeste. What is this Praça da Galeste? Earlier, before that place was built, the cockfights used to take place over there, and that was a very prominent place for this. So this was the place used by the Jesuits to construct that. In 1950s, let's go from outside to inside. This is a Baroque or a colonial, the Portuguese colonial, wherever the Portuguese went, they use that influence. It has got that type of an architectural style. And in 1950s, there was this architect, conservator, architect, whatever you may call him, by the name Mr. Balthazar. He came over here. And what he thought was to give this entire basilica, at that time it was a basilica because in just 4 years back it had been given that status. And what he said was, let's remove the lime coat. Now that was the biggest blunder that he did. Now he made another blunder, which I will tell you. He removed the coat of that of this basilica building that is there, to give it a rustic look. And also, from what I hear, the grapevine, is that he gave an explanation that our laterite rocks have got a lot of capillaries, and once they become wet, with the heat, the water has to come out. But he didn't realize that the very capillaries would allow the water to go inside also. And that is the biggest problem that today, as of today, the architecture is facing, that problem of the big thick walls with laterite on either side and with the mud packing in the middle getting wet. And after they get wet, they start cracking. Maintenance becomes a big problem. Now let's go inside. Now when you go inside, this structure is amazing. It's beautiful. But this structure, initially when it was being constructed, it didn't have the funds. And we all understand whenever we build something, it requires a lot of funds. And this shortage of funds was made good by the captain of the Cochin Fort, Mr. Mascarenhas, and we can see a beautifully carved brass plate over that. Exactly in front of that is one of the finest pulpits. What is a pulpit? Pulpit is a platform or a cubicle on top of a wall in a church or a chapel or a basilica in this case, or in the cathedrals, where the priest would come and stand there on specific occasions. It has got a wonderful choir balcony on top. That is, as soon as you enter the door, on top you see a balcony. Earlier, the choir used to sing from there. Today, the choir sings from near the altar. But earlier, they would sing from there. And sometimes when the choir was not there, it is said that the VVIPs would sit on top, who would not sit with the commoners. Today, if you look on top from down, you see something very unique on top. And that is one winged organ. The main altar has got the huge icon of Saint Ignatius of Loyola, who was the founder of the Order of the Society of Jesus, whom we know as the Jesuits. Saint Francis Xavier was also a co-founder along with seven other priests. This was in in the European side, in Paris to be more precise. So they had taken the vow in 1538 or 32. I'm not very sure of this date, but yes, they had taken the vow and they started this new order. Now, his icon is right in the middle, and the baby Jesus, after whom that basilica is named, Born Jesus or Good Jesus, his small idol is below the Saint Ignatius of Loyola. The carving is fantastic, and just to mention, not from any other angle, but to give credit to the artisans, most of or all of the altars, wooden altars that we see in Old Goa today, which are gilded by a gold film on top, they were carved by Hindu artisans from the Zo family in Ribandar. Today you don't find this family at all over there. Today most of the carpenters and electricians are all from outside Goa. We Goans have somehow forgotten our own trades. So this particular altar that is there is of wood. It is not of metal or anything. It is of wood. It is gilded with a film of wood. On either side there are side altars which have got the relics or bones of different saints. And to the right of the main altar there is a mausoleum. Now that is something very, very nice. Now another beauty of this entire basilica, and not only basilica but every structure that we see in Old Goa, their acoustics are fantastic. They do not, the sound does not rebound and create echo. The priest, when he stands and he talks, even the person sitting at the end could hear him. Now I am not talking about the present era because the noise pollution is very high, but I am talking about a time when Goa was quiet. They could hear that. And I'll give an example. I am born and brought up in Porvorim. That is, as the crow flies, about 7 to 8 kilometers away from Old Goa. But in the morning at about 5:30, 6 o'clock, when they rang that golden bell, which is on Sir Cathedral, we could hear it in Porvorim. That was the clarity of the sound waves at that time. Today, with so much of noise pollution, we can't hear that. In this mausoleum is kept the relics of Saint Francis Xavier. I would like to make one thing very clear. In 1984, the present emeritus, who passed away, Raul Gonsalves, the first Archbishop after liberation, Goan Archbishop, he made a statement, and it continues till today, that please do not call it as the sacred body of Saint Francis Xavier, but call it as the exposition of the sacred relics of Saint Francis Xavier. It started from 1984. So inside this mausoleum, there are two parts. The lower platform made out of Italian Carrara marble, and on top there is a beautifully carved silver casket hosting the relics of Saint Francis Xavier in a glass case. The lower part of it, that is the platform, which is quite high, which has got lovely designs on top of it and got chiropatat of angels. This was presented by the Duke of Tuscany, Cosimo III. The casket was designed by a Jesuit priest, but it was made and fabricated by Goan silversmiths. So there is quite a lot of fusion of ideas in this basilica that we see over there. And inside, when you go, on the right hand side between the main altar and the mausoleum of Saint Francis Xavier. You go into the sacristy area, or the area just outside the sacristy, and here you find a lot of paintings and a lot of memorabilia. The coffin that which he was kept inside, having the 3 keys, because people used to pick up his body pieces. The king of Portugal ordered that that casket should be closed, nobody should see it, and he made 3 keys for that. One with the rector of the Basilica, one with the Archbishop of Goa, and one with the Viceroy or Governor General of Goa. And only these 3 keys could open. Today, they have put it in the glass case. The relics are in a glass case, but you can see the 3 keys and the coffin behind it.